everybody. Welcome to Minorly Important, the podcast where we talk about minor league sports. I'm your host, Kevin Marlowe. I'm joined here by my co-host, Dylan Little. Dylan, how you doing, bud?
Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, not too much, man. Just kind of living life, working, taking care of 2 3-year-olds up until Sunday. Actually, they'll be 4, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, twins.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, yeah, nothing crazy, man. How you doing?
Cool. I'm doing all right. Long work week, but you know, it was good. It was good. Can't complain. And then we're also joined by Ryan Baker. Ryan, how you doing, bud?
Hey Kevin, I'm doing all right. Just made it through a long work week. Only got 1 week left of work, and then it's summer vacation. So
Teacher life.
I'll be enjoying the summer very soon.
Heck
Nice. Well, guys, tonight, as you probably have noticed, we don't have Colin Scholl, but tonight we do have a treat for you. Have you ever wondered who was underneath the mask of the Fort Wayne Mad Ant? Well, tonight we are going to reveal that, and we're joined by not Colin Scholl, but Colin Kerschner, the Mad Ant.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
How's it going, Colin?
It's going good. Thanks for having me, man.
No problem. So, tonight we wanted to give people see who was behind the mask this whole time, and just talk, have you tell some stories, and because I know Dylan and I have had some fun because, of course, we've worked with you for years, but it was a lot of fun, and so Colin, give us a little bit about your background and how you got to be the Mad Ant, and all of that.
Yeah. So I, mascotting wise, I actually got into it by being in trouble. So I was in high school and I had been sent to the principal's office or the front office for something, and I'm literally sitting in there waiting to get yelled at by the vice principal. And the school had just ordered his first ever mascot, and the costume showed up in the mail while I was fortuitously sitting there waiting to be punished. So after I got yelled at, I convinced the vice principal to let me try it on, and then I spent the rest of that afternoon just going classroom to classroom, kind of messing with people, and just fell in love with it. If you ever get a chance to get in a mascot costume, it's life changing. It was incredible. So I got to be Charlie the Charger at Carroll High School. I was the first Charlie Charger for at least a year or two.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yep. Went away to college and never did actual school mascotting, but I did a couple corporate things. I was a bird for a little while, and just kind of part-time gigs, making some money. And when I moved back home, they had put out an audition for the Mad Ant at the time. There's a couple guys before me that had done it, and one of them, the guy that was doing it before me, a guy named Anthony, no last name because he is also mascotting elsewhere now. He moved up to the big leagues into he's Freddie Fever. So as he transitioned to the Fever, they were looking for somebody else, and I literally signed up. I went to an audition and went out and danced and did some dumb stuff. And then for the next 13 years, I got to keep doing dumb stuff. So it was awesome.
Heck yeah, man.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, I know some of the fun stuff that we got to do with you. One of the first things we did is you jumped over this guy. And that was a lot of fun. That was the first time the drum line and the Mad Ant really interacted, and then it just kind of spiraled from there.
What season did you guys start?
That was the 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here, let me look at I have that 10th anniversary ring sitting here. It is the 2007 or 17 season.
17. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, man. I was going through pictures last night and just all kinds of crazy memories and stuff coming up. And yeah, jumping over you guys. We did some collabs there. I'm going to blank on his name now. Who put on the suit to drum?
It was Eric Askew.
Yeah.
So
made me look like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, that was one of the best. I remember you getting asked by people that knew who you were after the game, and we're like, "When did you learn how to drum? How did you know how to do that?"
Man, Ant's legit on the drums.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
So we had a guy that was actually Colin's backup. Oddly enough, he had just we're trying to find the video because he wanted that, where he came in and dressed up as the Mad Ant, but he kicked off our drum set player and then sat down in the middle of our halftime show and ripped it, and it was freaking awesome. So
Yep.
Yeah,
We had
that
just
was-
got a backup costume, and we were able to do the quick change. You know, I snuck backstage. He came
Yep.
flying out, took over, and everybody thought I knew how to play the drums. It was awesome. Good for me.
Then we
Yeah.
did a Christmas time, the T-shirt toss, where you came out and dumped the bag of T-shirts all over, looking like Santa. That's also when you let me live out my dream of shooting a T-shirt cannon. However, you stuffed it with
Nice.
a rubber chicken.
Yeah, I put a T-shirt in there.
So that was a lot of fun. But
Heck yeah.
Colin, what would you say is one of the best parts of being a mascot?
It's the anonymity. It's the ability to like do anything with like no repercussion. And I say that like jokingly, but like I sit on random people's laps, I steal kids' shoes, I rifle through women's purses. Like nobody says anything when you have a costume on. It's incredible the things that you get away with, and it's totally addicting. You do a couple little goofy things, and before you know it, it just snowballs, and you're running around stealing kids' shoes. It's being able to like freedom. It's the best way that I can describe it is it's like being a superhero for a couple hours. Like everybody wants your picture, everybody wants your autograph, and they have no idea who you really are. You know, I think one of the best things for me, still to this day, I run into people all the time. I'll see families that, I did it for 13 years. So I watched people like grow up. I watched, kids go from infants to teenagers, and I'm in every one of their family photos, and they have no idea who I am. So like we pass each other at Walmart, and I'm like, hey, that guy doesn't know that I'm pinned up on his wall, and half the photos of his family.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Oh man, I've got several photos of like you with the drum line, and my wife has a great one of you just randomly like popping over her shoulder and stuff like that. It's great. I also loved it because like I knew some of your mannerisms, and like you and I worked so close together for so many years that like I knew even if I just showed up to an event that we weren't working and somebody could be the exact same height as you, I knew whether or not it was you without even having to talk, because I knew like you had some very classic mannerisms that were awesome. And what a lot of people don't know is how athletic you are.
Yeah.
Like,
My
you.
goodness.
you wanna talk a little bit about how athletic you have to be a mascot sometimes?
I've got a couple of the guys that mascot that we kind of have gotten in touch over the years. One of the big things you do mascotting is you do mascot birthday parties where you get to go to some other arena, right? So you meet all these other guys that do it. And the old school stereotype of like the nerdy kid in high school that could make the football team ended up as the mascot is like totally not the case. All these guys are like world-class athletes. They're physically fit. I will never forget my first year doing the Mad Ant. I was not physically prepared for. Like I was generally in good shape, but there were a couple games where like halftime, I laid in the locker room on the floor, like praying not to die, And like it took a couple years to like not only get in shape like cardio wise, but get like learning how to hydrate properly and how to eat properly. And just I had one year in the off season, I would go in like full sweat gear and just like do jumping jacks in a sauna, because you got to get used to just being like brutally hot. It feels like you have a fever the whole time because your body temperature is so hot. So yeah, it's not something for the unphysically fit. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I only missed a couple games in my 13 years. I was always prided myself on being at all of them. And I'll never forget, I had terribly sick strep throat and something else. And like, I'm puking and fever. And so I couldn't make the game, and I called, and I'm sure you remember Kyle Etheridge was our MC, Stamos. And it just worked out. He's like, you know what? I'm going to do it tonight. And so he throws on the costume and does it. And like his first time out, he calls me and he's like, I'm never doing this again. This is so much harder than it looks. You got to be physically prepared for sure. I wore a Fitbit. This is back when Fitbit was a new thing, to a game. And like in a single game, I did like 7.2 miles.
Crazy.
Wow.
Of running up and down stairs, in full layers of costumes with basically a mask over so you can't breathe. So yeah, it's definitely physically demanding.
Oh yeah. No. I do know that Colin Scholl couldn't be here, but you remember Colin. He wanted me to ask you who you think the GOAT is of mascots, like the all-time
Oh
best
man,
mascot.
it's wow. There's a couple that stand out. You know, I knew Barry Anderson, who was Benny the Bull for like 15 years, and Barry was definitely one that I looked up to. I won't name drop him because he's still Boomer, but Boomer is an incredible. You talk about someone that is a physically fit individual. The dude has been Boomer since its conception. So the man is like in his 50s, and he is still an absolute freak when it comes to like physically fit and running around and doing dunk shows. The guy will like full torn rotator cuff and then finish out the season doing dunk shows, you know, every single day. Just crazy. But yeah, those two guys I got to work the most with. So I got to see kind of the behind the scenes, and dude, Barry and creativity and the stuff that he would come up with for Benny was just next level. I mean, those guys were so good.
Yeah, I remember when Boomer and the Power Pack came to Pacers night at a Mad Ants game, and I remember Boomer has this kind of hunch when he's just standing there, and I knew exactly when he walked in without the costume on. It was
Pick him
him.
out.
Yeah, and I remember pulling you off to the side. I'm like, is that him? And you're like, yeah, that's him. Yeah, because it goes back to those mannerism things, but. I remember a incident that you had. I think I remember the second game you missed. That was in our first season. Is that where you got injured? Not at a Mad Ants game.
At the Pacers game.
At a Pacers game.
Pacers game. Yep.
I remember that.
My all-time, you know, I've been pretty fortunate. A lot of the guys I talked to, the Mascot, have some like gnarly injuries. I mean, I got a good friend that fell rappelling, 80 feet, broke his back, serious major injuries. So like it goes with the territory. And yeah, my worst ever was that I dislocated my shoulder of all things doing a Ninja Warrior course in an inflatable. And it is the saddest walk of a mascot you'll ever see. So my wife and kids were at the game, and she's videoing it, thinking that she's just getting this footage for me to like analyze myself later. But basically what it was, I was in an inflatable costume, and we're supposed to go across a balance beam, and then we swing on a rope, and then we were gonna like it finished with you went under a limbo stick. So I go out on the balance beam, and the very first like 2 steps into the balance beam, I fell backwards. And that suit, you wore a backpack with a fan that inflated the suit, and I landed on the fan, and it like immediately exploded. So for the rest of the time on the Ninja War course, the suit is just slowly deflating. By the time I get to the end, it's just like a silhouette of me. You know, you just see the suit hanging off of me, and not thinking. I mean, you're in that moment. I can't see well anyway. The MC's making fun of me. Everybody's laughing. It's a great moment. But I decide in all my stupidity, instead of going under the limbo stick, to jump over the limbo stick. And as soon as I hit the ground, I landed on my shoulder, and it popped straight out. It was nice because it was sticking, straight up in the air. And I get up, and so now it's a deflated costume. My arm is like hanging down, unusable, and I just like slowly walk off the court. It's the saddest mascot walk ever. But that was that. I missed a couple games for that injury for sure.
I remember we happened to be at that game. The drumline happened to be there. We didn't know it was Boomer's birthday, so we got to see you. And then I remember you sitting courtside at one of the final games. I think it was the game they retired Ron Howard's number. But you're sitting there you're sitting there in a sling. And I remember walking up to you, and I'm like, Did you get hurt when you were doing that? And he's like, yeah, I did. That was
it was a really gnarly. I mean, honestly, it still sticks up a little bit, but the bone for whatever reason just stuck straight up, and it looked like it was coming through the skin, And it was great because I get backstage and I'm already back there freaking out a little bit, and then the faces of the other mascots, the other performers, they would come backstage and they'd all be like, "Hey, man, are you?" Oh, your shoulder is really bad.
Oh man!
But that's probably my worst ever injury. I've had a bunch of sprains and a couple like broken fingers, things like that. But the dislocated shoulder was probably the worst one.
Well, and I mean, when you're in the normal costume, at least like it's padded. it's like extra padding. That one you had nothing.
Yeah. Which is a whole nother like element of the mascotting. You put that suit on, and for whatever reason, you just like feel like you're invincible. So I do a lot of really dumb acrobatic things that in real life I would never attempt. But you put on a helmet and pads, and you feel like, oh, I can jump off this 20-foot railing, and I'll land perfectly fine. That'll be all right.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
What is one of the craziest things you've ever done, like as stunt-wise?
Stunt-wise? It's less about, I don't even think that they're super crazy as much as like you don't get a lot of chance to like rehearse or practice these. So like most of the dunk stuff that I would do was like just first dry run. Hey, have you ever done this before? Nope. Let's go give it a shot in front of 5,000 people and just see what happens, and that's just the way it is. I'm trying to think, there was trying to think which mascot it was now. I was talking to one guy, he had done like a 30-foot ladder dunk.
Was that Bango?
Bango. Yeah, Bango.
Yeah.
You're right. It was Bango. He literally bought the ladder like on his way to the arena. Never like been up on it at all. And then let's get on it in front of 20,000 people. And
I remember this story because there was an Hulu show called Behind the Mask, and it takes you through like a high school, a college, a semi-pro, and a pro mascot. And Bango the first year was the pro, and he talked about the fact that he didn't tell anybody, and legal was not happy. They were not happy. And he pulled it off, and he didn't get in trouble because it became such a famous dunk and brought so much notoriety to the Bucks that it was he got it kind of brushed under the rug.
You get away with a lot. I got into trouble a few times from the team, but it was always stupid stuff. Like one of my signature things was, I steal kids' shoes and I like to throw them on the court. We would always do a ball toss to try and throw the ball, and I would always steal a shoe and throw it on the court. It's always funny. And I literally got like yelled at one point by the team president for that. This was later on after Pacers had taken over, and somebody complained they didn't think it was entertaining. It was like, hey, you got to quit with the shoes. Like, really? Like that's... But that happens.
Oh man.
Golly. That was always a fun thing to have to deal with Pacers Sports and Entertainment. They're a great organization. I loved working for them, but dealing with like legal and having to do all the budget stuff was not my favorite part.
Yep. The one that I never understood is I always wanted a little ant. So Boomer always had Little Boomer and Baby Boomer. And so for years, I pitched Little Ant. Like, let's get a kid, make a miniature costume. It'll be cute. They could just go do T-shirt toss. And that one, legal would always turn that one down. Not sure why, but that never got past legal for that.
Man, so that would have been really cool.
Red tape.
I think at one point you and I tried to get around that red tape by putting me in the backup costume. And because... you can't see it here on the podcast, but I am 5'4", and Colin is much taller than me. So,
Not a little ant, but when I was 6'3" by 5'4", and in that costume, I was more like 7 foot. So
it would have worked. That was actually on the table. That and Dylan and I and a couple others were going to try to learn how to basically be a power pack for you.
Do a little dunk show. We talked about that for a while.
And that was in the docket for the next season, and then... That got
never
cut.
happened.
Yep.
Never happened.
But no, I remember you and I came up with the idea of bringing out my bass drum and bouncing your dunk ball for the opening dunk off that. That was a lot of fun.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to do a lot of collab stuff with you guys. Some of the other groups weren't as interested. I did a couple dances with the dance team, but they had so much going on. Like there just wasn't a lot of time. I felt like the few times I did it, I was just interrupting practice, But and even when we had guests, like we would do Star Wars night, I tried to get Darth Vader to let me dunk over him. Like no interest. But you guys were always cool about. We had all kinds of cool ideas to do, so it was made fun.
My thought is the more we could interact, the more because we were all part of the entertainment team, the entertainment team.
Entertainment,
There you go, Tim.
It's a Jim Shovlin,
but no, it just made more sense to just collaborate, and the more you did it with us, and I really tried to get a Mad Ant bobblehead, but him sitting behind the drum
Drums.
kit.
Oh, it would have been
Yeah.
awesome.
Tim loved that idea. It never came to that. And but yeah, I loved working with you. You were so easy to deal with, and like I tried to do some stuff with the dance team too, and it was really hard to interact and try to get schedulings worked out. But I would text you and be like, "Hey, bud, we want to do this," and you're like, "Cool. When do I need to be there?"
Let's do
like,
it. Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
it was
I'm in.
so
Down for
freaking
whatever.
easy.
Yeah,
And then
man.
like we did our little pregame show, and you would come even with unscripted. You would just come in and fit in perfectly and just interact. Not enough that it disrupted us, but enough that it just added to the pregame show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like
100%.
when we flip the trash cans over and bring out the little mini basketballs, like randomly one time you come out of nowhere and just batted the ball halfway across the lobby there, and it was so funny. Like the kid got so upset because it was a beautiful shot, and all of a sudden you came out of nowhere and just went whack.
I guess the
Not-
things you
not
can
in
get away
my
with in
house.
costume, right?
Yeah. It was stuff like that like we considered you part of the team, and just like you would come over and we had a little 12-inch tabletop gong that we called the missed free throw gong. And anytime you came over, that immediately
gong.
got handed to you.
Yep.
I really wanted to get a 42-inch.
Yeah, a big one. That would have been awesome.
And I was told that, like, hey, if it fits in your budget, you can do it.
It was about to fit.
I fit the gong in the budget. It was the stand that we were trying to figure out that,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but big shout out to the guys over at Zildjian. They really helped us out. But that was, I sent that to our Zildjian rep, a picture of you holding the gong, and I told him
Nice.
what it was, and he's like, that is the greatest use of those ever. Most people just put them on their desk and just as an ornament. You guys are actually like using it. And I remember the first time we brought it out, and you went up to hold it, the dude missed his free throw. And the look on his face when the ant rings the missed free throw gong, and we all told him what it was like, he was so embarrassed. And
Good
you would
time.
always
Crowds
show,
get into that stuff, man.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
what is one of the craziest, like, stories you have?
I think they're crazy just because they make the least sense to me, but I've probably got a dozen stories of women coming on to me in costume.
You can
Nice.
tell all of those here. Just
Hey,
picture
Dude,
family.
it's their family friend, but
Yeah.
I like one that stands out in particular. And again, so I would always do the rotunda post game. I love the
Yeah.
photos. Like that's what it's all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like an older couple, I say older, like probably in their 50s, the husband takes the camera, wife comes over for the photo and starts like, we'll say aggressively pressing against me. Right. And then whispers in my ear, you can feel that, can't you?
Oh,
Like,
Okay.
oh yeah, you have no idea who's underneath this costume. I could be some slimy teenager. Yeah, that's it. But like stuff like that, I would get phone numbers handed to me and weird stuff like that all the time. No idea who's under the mask, just some kind of weird fetish thing, I guess.
Is there anybody like that you work with that doesn't know who you were and would like you would see at a game and then see it work the next day?
I was pretty good about keeping my identity hidden. My parents are terrible about it. They're so proud they tell everybody, you know.
Of course.
I love your
work,
parents.
they're great. They're great. They're just so proud that when I would go to their section of the arena, like everyone would call me by my first name, which I would just ignore blatantly, you know.
Yeah.
But like at work, most of my employees didn't know for a long time that it was me. So yeah, I would see people there. Like I just recently was talking to an employee and she was telling me she has no idea to this day, telling me how her entire life she's been terrified of mascots because the Mad Ant traumatized her as a teenager. Hey, that was me.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does anybody like? It's crazy. Like, just I have seen you out, and I know you on a personal level and know you on a professional level from that aspect. And like you in the Mad Ant costume and you in normal, like just you and me hanging out, are two totally different people.
Totally different.
But
Yep.
like I nobody that doesn't know would probably ever figure it out just based on like that
Sure.
alone. Like,
Sure.
and I think that's what makes you one of the best mascot. I mean, I've met a few, and I think that what makes you some of the best, like one of the best ones ever. And
Well, I think when you develop the character, like when you're coming up with what that character, that mascot is going to be, like there's obviously some crossover. Like I said about like doing the rotunda and photos, I've always as a kid looked up to athletes that like made time for photos and autographs.
yeah,
Like those guys that'll stay there all night and just sign, like that to me is awesome. So the ant was always going to be that. I was always going to have time for every photo and every autograph like that. But then I'm a relatively reserved person, kind of introverted, quiet. And when I'm in costume, it's the exact opposite. Like I would never walk into a room of people and just start dancing, but the ant will dance anywhere, anytime, in front of anyone, you know, music or not, doesn't matter. So yeah, there's some definite, some crossover personality, but then some big divide too. So I don't think most people without being told would be able to guess.
I remember coming back at one point where it was after COVID, and I remember you and I hadn't seen each other for a while. We're doing like a public event where they could come into the Coliseum, hang out on the court and stuff. And I remember you and I hadn't like seen each other, I didn't know you were going to be there. You didn't know I was going to be there. And all of a sudden you turn around, and I knew from your mannerisms it was you. And you turned around and your teeth, that's where the eyes were, locked eyes with me. And I remember your reaction, and you pointed at me in the Mad Ant way and came up and gave me a hug. And it was a really cool reunion part. That was a really tough time, but I remember that was just, like I said, we considered you part of the drumline,
sure.
a member of that, and that it was one of the best parts of working for that organization was the friendship.
Totally agree, and I think it's awesome that we still get to see each other and do stuff like this and talk, because it was devastating to me, not just losing that gig, but like that losing that family, losing all those.
Same.
See, and not just like our group that we worked with. Like I said, I watched these. Like fans, I was part of their like entertainment. I was part of their lives, and all of a sudden it was just like gone.
Yeah,
it was awful. So it's cool that we can still, you know, have some connection.
Yeah, no, and you're welcome on anytime to hang out and talk. We can
sure.
Maybe we can do a go through the top minor league mascots and
there you go.
have
breakdown.
Colin, have Colin be on. I know we'll probably be a little biased towards the other Fort Wayne mascots,
just a little bit,
like Johnny Tincap and
I
mean, we got to go tour with Icy, and
awesome
like
game.
we've gotten to hang out with other mascots. We won't have them on the show because we don't want to reveal their identity.
Not till they retire, at least.
Exactly. But Colin, you got forced into retirement, so we brought you on. So,
you know, and like I said, I loved it so much. There was a moment, it wasn't even offered, but there was a moment when I saw the announcement, like, I could drive to Indy. I could drive down there for every game.
Do you think, what do you think the name of the mascot for the Boom is going to be?
Oh, man.
Because,
it can't be Boomer, right?
Right. I mean, no, but we talked about that when we talked about the name change, that would be a perfect name for the Boom, but it's taken, and you can't take that away. Boomer is one of my favorite, like, professional mascots.
Yeah,
I love him, but I just was curious what you thought, or if they've told you, maybe.
They have not. And a side note on Boomer, there was a point, I have 2 young girls, and there was a point in their lives when, even though Dad was the Mad Ant, that Boomer was their favorite mascot. Now, I had a little trouble getting over that. No, you know, I have not talked to them much. I was told that when they did change the team name that I'd be getting my costume back. I have my original red Mad Ant saved in an acrylic box like a bat suit, which is pretty awesome. And I'm hoping I get the blue one back, and I'll do the same thing, put them side by side. So I know they're not going to be an ant anymore. And honestly, I would not be surprised if they just don't have a mascot. It just, at that, especially having worked with the Pacers organization stuff, I don't know how much stock they put in that entertainment at the minor league level. Like moving the team to Indy for them made a bunch of sense as far as coaching and monitoring players and player development to have them in your backyard.
Right.
So to them, I think they're going to treat it probably more as just a farm club where they're breeding players. It's not necessarily about game entertainment and fans having a good time. So I don't know, they may go completely no mascot. There's a handful of teams that don't. I don't know what they're thinking, but yeah, that they are out there. So
yeah, no, that was one of the crazy things. It felt like in Fort Wayne, that's what they pushed more. That it was we had what we called entertainment.
Yeah.
And I want to give credit to Tim Bauman for
100%.
really pushing that and doing a lot of good for us.
Dude, we had so many good people on that entertainment team. Like I said, you guys, I talk about Kyle Etheridge all the time, or Stamos, our MC. Dude, he was one of the best MCs ever. Kyle was fantastic. The dance team, that we really, for what we had and what we put on, I feel like we put on a show second to none. And we had look, we had some good seasons where there were some good teams. We had some stink seasons where we had crap play, but we still put on good shows.
Yeah.
When it's a Tuesday night in Fort Wayne and there's not much going on, like we had a party going on at the Coliseums.
Yeah,
I remember you and me and some of the drummers talked about during the dance party, the fourth quarter dance party. We convinced them to play like a song that we could do a conga line to.
Yeah.
And we started this giant freaking conga line. And one of my guys, it was superhero night or something that we did that on. And he's wearing some like donkey mask with a mask across it, just made some superhero up. And I remember him looking and going, Larry Bird gave me a bird face, and just shook his head and looked at him. And he's like, I don't know whether to be happy or upset that I got bird.
Got birded.
No. Did you, when a celebrity came like that, so we would have Larry Bird or John Stockton even, or any of that. Did you ever, were you ever allowed to go like interact with them?
I was usually given give them a little space, you know, if they call you over or something, but for the most part, try and avoid and just give them room or whatever. So there would be a few that like would want to get a picture or something, but no, my better ones were like, we had some entertainment that would come do shows. Like when we did wrestling night, and I had one of the brother. Oh my gosh, why did I just blank on his name? Not Hart. No, terrible. I remember for his name. But we had a WWE wrestler come. And dude, he was so cool. Like taking pictures, signing stuff. He did me a chest bump, knocked me to the ground, which is pretty awesome to say that I'd taken a bump. So
that's awesome.
That's cool.
Nice.
I remember Mr. Spelding from Saved by the Bell was there.
There was another one. Oh, Matt Hardy. There you go. Couldn't remember Hardy Brothers.
Yeah,
I got chest bumped by Matt Hardy, which is pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Were you there in the year they won the G League, or?
Yep, and in fact, that's one of my best memories. And just to show you how class of an organization it was, not only did I get to be there for the championship, which was like an all-time high in mascotting, a sellout crowd, you know, an awesome game. And I knew some of the guys on the team. Ron Howard was always super cool with me. Sadiel Rojas was a player that was super nice with me even as the mascot. But the organization bought me a championship ring, just like a player on the team.
Nice.
That's really cool.
I got an NBA championship ring. I keep it in a safe deposit box. But yeah, I got a championship ring like I was a player, which is pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
Freaking awesome. I remember that's been a dream of mine, and I've had an opportunity with the Mad Ants to have that. I don't know about Fort Wayne FC if they get rings for winning that, but I do know that I also had an opportunity towards a Super Bowl ring if being on the Indianapolis Colts drum line.
Oh, yeah,
that would have been. I always tell people the quarterback in high school would jokingly be like, oh, like, you know, you're in band, and like joke with me for being in band when he was in sports, like not maliciously, but joking.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, it would be really great to just come up with a freaking Super Bowl ring and be like, oh, how'd I get that? Got that for being in band.
And, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
I got a good ring story too. So right after we got it, like a month later, I was on a business trip in Florida. And at this point, like I'm wearing it, everywhere for the first month or so. The thing was and it's an NBA ring. It's
Yeah.
a monster ring, all these diamonds and stuff. And
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there with my dad at a restaurant, and the server's like, "Oh, that is cool," checking it out, And here I'm thinking, okay, I'm on the other side of the country. They're not going to know. I could be a player.
Yeah.
But, so I'm like, yeah, it's championship ring. And thank goodness I didn't lie. And I was like, well, I work for the team in the entertainment side. Like, they knew Trey McKinney Jones because he had gone to the University of Miami. It was like one of his best friends. Dude was on the team. I was going to get caught lying about being a player.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't.
That's awesome.
Like, what are the chances?
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So I remember we were at a staff party one time, and I remember all of a sudden you came up with a tray of drinks, and somebody you go up and were like, somebody told me you wanted to go drinking with the Mad Ant, and like you brought up like shots at this staff party, and so like that was one of our group's first interactions, because like you and I had talked, but it was that first season, and you had gotten shots for all of us, and I remember that, and at that point everybody's like, who is that? and I'm like, he works on the entertainment staff.
Works with the team. Yep. That's right.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and I remember it because we did this whole thing at that because it was a playoff thing, and we went to a local bowling alley here in town, and he's like, everybody was asking say whatever. So I was like, I am Kevin. I'm the director of the drum line. Dylan's like, hi, I'm Dylan. I'm a member of the drum line. And you were like, hi, I work on the entertainment staff. And that's all you said.
That was
I
usually
believe-
my blanket statement. Yeah.
Either that, or you might have said, my job is a secret and I will not discuss it, or something. You said something funny like that. And it was, and then everybody's like, what's his job? Why is it like on my staff? And I'm like, guys, don't talk. Like,
Yep. And
just
you
shut
can't
up.
know.
And then later they were all like at a rehearsal, like the next season, was that guy the Mad Ant? And I'm like, oh, yes. That's why
Yep,
he didn't say who it
That's the
was.
secret. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, and it's really funny because like people would come up and be like, man, what's the Mad Ant like? I got that question a lot from friends about what you were like, as like, how crazy is he like at like staff outings and stuff like that? And I'm like, not.
Yeah.
Pretty
Nope.
quiet.
Yeah.
Pretty quiet.
And they're like, no, I don't believe you. And I'm like, no, he is.
Yeah,
He really is.
No, yeah, for sure. No, I said the two personalities are very different. I'm not an extroverted, talkative person. I'm just kind of in my shell and put that mask on and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
For sure.
Yeah. So did you get to keep any of do you have any of your jerseys? Like, do you have any of like?
I have got the sickest Mad Ant memorabilia collection. So because the way the team up and left overnight, they literally left everything. So I was literally just going to drop something off at the Coliseum, and Tim was there and a couple other people, and they were cleaning out a storage closet. I was like, what are you guys doing with all this stuff? Like, oh, we're just gonna throw it away. Like, there's no use for it. Like, no, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
So I went and got a trailer and came back, and I literally my attic, I probably have 100 mini basketballs to be autographed. I got 200 Mad Ant coolers. I got every promo giveaway they've ever had.
All right,
jersey wise,
yeah.
Not only do I have my actual game jerseys, I've got 5 or 6 different game jerseys from every time that they would change it. But every time that they did a theme night, I have the jersey and shorts from all of those as well. So
Nice.
I have 60 jerseys probably and maybe 100 pair of shorts.
Wow.
Dang. I thought they auctioned the Mad Ant one off.
Well, they would usually have a couple.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And
All right.
occasionally they would auction them both off, and then I wouldn't get one. But those ones, they never auction the shorts. So I have every pair of shorts.
Right.
And then I probably have, like I said, 30 or 40 where they had an extra jersey or nobody bought the jersey or, whatever the reason was. But yeah, I've got a ton of them. So
Dang.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
my go-to white elephant gift is you get a Mad Ant prize pack that's got like a pair of socks in it, a cooler, a basketball.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
That's
Nice.
fantastic.
Every holiday party, I show up with a bunch of Mad Ant giveaways.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. So, what is like your kids and your wife and parents were at almost every game, if I remember. Yeah. What's one of the coolest moments that you're like having? Remember your family was there a lot. What's one of the coolest? What are some of the coolest moments of memories you have?
I think the coolest thing for me is just the connection with my daughters. I said I got 2 little girls, and they would. I said that Boomer was their favorite mascot. They would tease me that way all the time. They did enjoy Boomer, but like they have a passion for entertainment and dance and mascotting. When I talked about doing a little ant, my daughter, my oldest, wanted to do that so bad, and like even now, she's looking for opportunities to potentially do something in mascotting or whatever. So for me, it was mostly that connection, that I got to have a special thing with them, that wherever I was in the arena, like they could see that's dad over there. It's not just a guy in a costume, you know what I mean? And they love the secret of it too, that their friends don't know, but they know. You know, like this little inside thing.
That's pretty cool.
Like I would do a ton of appearances. I'd go to schools and stuff like that. And of course, I'd always do their school probably more than any other. And there was always just this like wink to dad, like, I know who that is in there. The other kids don't know, you know.
Yeah.
So that's probably the coolest thing, is that seeing that we've got that little connection, something special there. For my wife, my mascotting is there's a love-hate relationship there, because she loves that I love it, and so she's super supportive in that, and wanted me to do it as much as possible. But it's a lot of time. You know, it's time away from home on weekend nights when that's family time, and here I'm off dancing around for strangers in a costume. So there was always a little give and take, but they've all been so supportive and cool about helping me continue when I did it, you know, as much as possible.
That's awesome. I remember, you know, getting to meet your wife and your kids and your mom and dad. And like you said, yeah, your mom and dad are not very secretive about who you are. I love, but they're also like your entire family. Like I said, your wife, your mom and dad are some of the sweetest people I've ever met. And I remember your mom and dad were some of our biggest supporters. I mean, your wife was too, but like your mom and dad would come up and say hi to us and tell us we did a great job and all that. And it was awesome. I loved getting to meet your family, and I know I speak for my wife, who loved getting to know your family. Like, I know every once in a while I still ask you how, you know, all your family's doing, and it's great. I remember meeting up with you a little bit and reminiscing, like, after it had happened, and it was just, I miss getting to work with you. And for people that never got to see the Mad Ant, I'm sorry, because it was, I would put him up there in the stuff when, like he said, Boomer is a really good mascot too. And when those two got to do things together, it was a show. It was a show. And like, we wanted to kind of make a mini Mad Ant power pack, with our drummers, like we had talked about earlier. And, it just, we wanted to work with you as much as possible because you're so easy to work with, and like it's just incredible the stuff that you would do.
Well, I think that speaks to that family atmosphere too, that it wasn't just us. It was your family. It was, you know, it was my parents. Like they were just part of the team. Everyone was, it was like we were all in the same group, you know. We knew everyone. Everyone knew everybody, and you see them pregame and talking and how's things going and checking in, and it was pretty awesome atmosphere.
I remember oh, go ahead.
Okay, no. Speaking of family, though, my boys loved you like 100%.
Yeah.
They were like 1.5 or so that first year that they got to go, and I don't remember if you remember or not, but the 2 little boys like would come up and take pictures with you. Man, we still have those towels with you, like the Mad Ant on it. Yeah. And like they still say, look, it's Auntie. Like they always called you Auntie for some reason. Really weird.
Yeah, got a lot of that.
Man, they loved it for sure.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
And like we would, I remember family dinner before game where the department manager would go in and run like in the entertainment thing where we would go and we'd have like the meal beforehand and go over the game night. And I remember like it was just like all of us that were in that entertainment section were it was great. We felt like a family. We worked together. Um and even as the person that was in charge of going over that changed, it still kept that same family feeling. Like I remember, heck, your pranks didn't even just stick to the fans. You played pranks on all of us.
Heck yeah. Fair game for everybody, right?
I know. I know. I did feel fortunate. I did feel like you and I had a close enough friendship that I was watching my back and you knew that I was watching my back.
I feel like you might have like, hey, you could screw with this drummer a little bit tonight. You might have tossed some hints my way.
Yeah. But also like you and I, there were times where you and I didn't have to verbally communicate. That was one of the coolest things is that like we all knew each other so well that I just had to give you a look and you knew what like you could read the situation so well to know what we wanted. And that's what made you one of the best mascots in my opinion, is that like you just could read the room. You knew what was going on. And it was great. I remember one time you literally spent your own money, bought a Lakeland when they were Lakeland, not the Osceola. You bought a Lakeland Magic shirt and asked if one of my drummers was willing to be sacrificed to be pied. And you put him in the and he was up there for like a full quarter.
A while.
We went from 3 snare drums, 2 tenors and 4 bass drums that game to going 2 snares, 2 tenors, 4 bass drums in the drum set. So that way he could go sit in the stands for the entire first quarter. And in the second quarter, you came up and pied him. And then all of a sudden we had 3 snare drummers again after that.
And generously pied him too. It was not a, this is a friend. He's getting a little bit. No, it was full on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, but like that, it was so fun to do some of that stuff with you, and I miss it a lot.
Me too, man. Me too.
Ryan or Dylan, do you guys have any questions or anything like that?
Yeah. So as far as your pranks, tricks, whatever you anything in your act, did you ever go to anything and say, "Hey, this is what I want to do," and then them say, "No, you can't do that"?
Ooh, I'm a firm believer of easier to ask forgiveness than permission. So there was
me too.
Yeah, most of it was not pre-discussed. There'd be occasionally where I was like, this is kind of skating a line here. Maybe I should do. I'll tell you, like one I got in trouble for. One time I got a giant blown up poster head of the opposing team coach. I thought this would be hilarious. I'm just going to stand behind him and mock him. And I probably should ask permission on that one. I got in a little trouble for that one. That's hey, we don't do that stuff. So
yeah.
But no, there was not a lot. The one I will tell you I wanted so bad and I never got was I said a friend of mine had fallen he was rappelling at the Coliseum and fell 80 foot, broke his back, and so the Coliseum like a hard no rappelling from the ceiling, which I always wanted to do because Boomer rappels and a lot of guys do it. That'd be awesome. So for years, I kept saying, when we build this arena in Fort Wayne, we'll have our own space. I want a zip line that comes from like one of the corners of the arena right down to the home basket. And I'll zip line in and do a dunk off the zip line or something. And then never got the arena. But yeah. No,
I feel like you need to call Tim. Call Tim and say, "Hey, let's get this set up. One last hurrah down in let's down in the boom.
Give me opening night at the new arena. Throw the suit on for old sake." No.
Hey, yeah. I think we're trying to be there. Tim said anytime we want to come down and do a tour. So if that works, that would be awesome. Be great. Would be even
funny. If it doesn't work to be in costume, I'd be down to go. That'd be pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean if we get to go and you're not in costume, I will put you on the media list that night as part of the minorly important crew that night.
Get a media pass, yeah.
You were always part of us for the drum line, so welcome to the minorly important family.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But I get it every now and then. There's a few other, they talked about the tin caps and stuff. They've talked about doing like a bringing the man out of retirement for like a throwback to Fort Wayne night or something like that. So who knows? Maybe someday it'll reemerge randomly for an event.
Maybe you should put a glass door on that case once you get the blue suit, so you
can
get
in and out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I need like a smoke machine and a button. I said, I'm going for the Batcave feel where it opens up.
That'd be so cool.
That would be. What's going to be even better is if you do get to play the Mad Ant one more time at like the Boom opening, people that have watched this show are going to be like, "Oh, I know who's in that.
I know who's in there." Yeah.
Yeah, unless it's not him.
Well, if you watch the show, I'll give you one tip off here. Next Thursday is 90s night at the Tin Caps game. Throwback. They have like the old Wizards and Dinger the Dragon, and I will be Dinger the Dragon.
Hey,
well, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
So there's your little inside scoop. If you happen to be at the Tin Caps game, you'll know who the idiot and the dragon is this guy.
So you're gonna be Dinger the Dragon.
Dinger the Dragon, yeah. So
crazy.
And we were just talking about a couple episodes ago that like we miss like Wayne the Wizard and Dinger the Dragon. Like I love Johnny Tin Cap. I love him.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy about like Fort Wayne mascots. Like the three mascots, Mad Ant, Johnny Tin Cap, and Icy the Eagle. Those three are all some of my favorite people, but also three completely different characters. I mean, you go like the Mad Ant was always very loving, happy, but energizing and athletic. Then there's Johnny Tin Cap. He does a great job, but it's like a different character, and I don't want to say shy. He's not shy, but he's not.
He's kind of like chill.
Yeah, he's very chill, and I love it. And then there's Icy the Eagle, who can be a jerk, and in the best way, in the best way, and I love it. Yeah. I love it, and like the three of you have all created different characters, and it's amazing. And but I'll be partial. Icy is probably the best remaining mascot, but he doesn't come up to you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Now, is there like anything like mascot feuds? Like, has there ever been a mascot you're like, I do not like that person?
Ooh.
As a person or as a mascot.
See, I feel like the mascots for the team was kind of was the go-between ambassador, because like back in the day, Mad Ants and the Comets like hated each other because we shared a space. So we fought for dates, on who got the Saturday games, who got Wednesday games. So in the office, neither of them liked each other. It was very ill-spoken. But then like the guys in the mask, like we were buddies. Like we were the one remaining tie between the two relationships, we're the Romeo and Juliet of the two families, like we still talk and we're friends, even though our families hate each other. So no, I never really had any I refused, didn't like working with. I have had some awful mascots. We had Quaker Steak and Lube. If you remember that chicken wing restaurant.
Oh, that was so good.
Oh, the food was good. The mascot was awful. It was this teenage kid, and he was very happy with himself. And he was the greatest mascot to ever live, and he would tell you that 100 times. And he was difficult to be around. So I guess there's a couple that were like, he would still come to games and I'd work with him, and then he'd leave and like, oh, thank God he's gone. Let's just get back to have fun.
Oh, that's awesome. But no, I was curious, did you ever have any desire to move up to the professional ranks to get your call up in any league?
Dude, if I could have done this full-time professionally, I would even today in my 40s, if I got the call, I would be gone in a heartbeat. And I told my family that before, if a nod ever comes, I'm in 100%. At one point, probably 5 or 6 years into being the Mad Ant, I had gotten a little, people were complimenting me, hey, you do a pretty good job. And it started to sink in, hey, I'm actually, maybe I'm not so terrible at this. I put together a resume and I actually started reaching out to different NBA teams and just hey, keep this on file in case anything ever happens. There was always the dream, because I said I knew Boomer, and that dude had been Boomer for 30 years. Like,
yeah.
he's got to retire eventually. If I could just hang in there. And a few years before the team folded, I was doing an appearance with Freddie Fever, and we were talking about, if Boomer ever opened up, I was like, yeah, I would hope I, get the call. It's like, well, you're too tall.
Oh.
Like, well, what do you mean I'm too tall? They said, well, Boomer's 5'8", and they've already made it known that when the replacement comes, they're going to have to be 5'8" too, so that the fans can't tell it's someone different. So my dreams were shattered before I got too far. But
Hey,
I would do it tomorrow if I could. Yeah, it's the greatest job ever.
Yeah.
I'm 5'7". Is that close enough?
Hey, you got to put some lifts in your shoes. You're right there.
Let's do it.
Wait, is Boomer, is he a skinnier guy or is he kind of a wider guy?
He's a stocky guy. He's a muscle.
Dylan, you got to put on some muscle or I got to lose some weight. One of the two's got to happen.
Oh man, no, I heard that, like, doesn't the Denver Nuggets mascot, doesn't he make like 6 figures? Like,
crazy.
At that level, they all make fantastic money. Not only is it really good money, I mean, if they have any kind of the branding rights, like the Philly Frenetic or something like that, where the mascot's its own business, those guys are making great money. And then on top of that, you got to think of the resources you get with the NBA or an NHL, or you got the team doctors and the medical, their insurance, all the benefits that go for working for an organization like that. Like, yeah, those guys there's a reason it's hard to get that gig, because it's a good gig.
Yeah, I remember a story of Gritty, the Philadelphia Flyers mascot, did a turnaround, and he's like very animated, and he turned around because a kid tapped him on the back, and he backhanded the kid, and it was a complete accident, and like knocked him down, and the kid thought it was funny. The parents did not, and the parents sued Gritty the mascot. But the legal documents, because they could not reveal his identity unless he was proven guilty, was insert family name here versus Gritty the mascot. And that was like, and I guess like, I don't know. I remember reading this story a long time ago, so I might be remembering it wrong, but I think he tried to show up to the court case in full costume. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And like had to have like an interpreter because he couldn't say anything.
Be awesome.
Would that not be the greatest appearance ever?
That would have been awesome.
And that would be so on par for Gritty. Like that's like, and I mean, I've seen several mascots like Stinger from the Columbus Blue Jackets, Boomer. Like, I mean, I can't remember what his name. Oh, Crew Cat from the Columbus Crew, the NHL team. Like, I've seen so many professional mascots, and the only one that, in my humble opinion, and I know I'm very biased, that came close to like my experience with you was Boomer. But it was almost like you guys were one and the same. I mean, like, because you worked so close together. The only thing is he could repel and you couldn't.
Yeah, a couple more. He had a lot of fun toys, man. I'll tell you what, that was one of the fun things going down to do Pacer games, and there's just rooms of ride-ons and motorcycles and all kinds of cool, toys.
I remember you telling us about that. I also remember going like the Mad Ants night at a Pacers game, and like that was another place we got to interact with so much, and it was really cool. That was one thing with the Pacers that they did, is they really made it feel like the Pacers and the Mad Ants were still one big family.
Same. Yep,
yeah,
I agree.
And it was like, I mean, High Octane always loved us. I mean, much like, and we interacted with them very much in the same as you interacted with Boomer. And I know the dance team interacted with the Pacemates the same way. It was a very big family atmosphere, and it was just one of those that like, I'm so happy that I got the opportunity to do it like that, because like it let me live out my dream of working in professional sports. I am not great at sport, and certainly not basketball. I am 5'4". My coach has always said that I was a center in a guard or point guard's body, because I would fight for rebounds, but I could never win it because I was one of the shortest kids on the court. But this allowed me to do that, and I got to be friends with, all of you, and it's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hey, who knows? Who knows? Fort Wayne FC does not have a mascot, so maybe.
True.
Not yet. I've heard
maybe.
rumors.
Yeah,
I've
maybe,
heard
buddy.
rumors of one coming.
Well, you want to make an announcement here?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to overstep, but
Yeah.
I would say they are for sure have a 5-star facility coming, and there will be good entertainment in that facility.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I heard they have a great drum line.
Yeah, you might be
Yeah.
biased.
I might be biased because I said, I guess we should make the announcement since you're wearing the shirt. Ryan Baker did make the drum line this year.
Hey.
I made the drum
All
line!
right.
Ryan
He
finally
doesn't
got
drum
his,
at all. What's going on here?
Ryan finally got his minor league sports job, so
Hey.
Awesome.
welcome to the family.
Thanks.
But, yeah. So, well, we are a little over an hour in, but it's been a great time. We always close with a closing question here, Colin. So I'm gonna ask you, and then Dylan and Ryan, you can also give this, even though I think we've asked this. So just pick a different story. What is your favorite minor league sports moment ever?
Favorite minor league sports moment? You know, it's got to be winning the championship in 13 with the
winning
Mad
the G
Ants.
League?
Standing out there, center court, holding the trophy up. There was an after party that night, and like I've got pictures. I'm holding the NBA championship trophy up, and it just like it at that time. That was still when the team was owned by a family here locally, the Potter and Ziegler family. So it felt like a family. Like I love the Pacers, but working with them was way more intimate, and like it felt like I was on the team. It felt like I had hit the winning basket. You know what I mean? Like it was just I was part of that. So that was such a cool moment.
Yeah. Dylan?
Yeah, so I don't know, just being part of the drum line in any form or fashion was awesome. Like you said, getting to be a part of a team in any sense, like you and me are fairly short people and not inclined in any types of sports, anyway. But no, being jumped over by Mr. Mad Ant here was pretty awesome. The knee whizzed past my ear pretty closely, but I kept that drum roll going. It was nice.
I love the picture, and we may pop this picture up over here. We don't have it to pull it up while we're recording, but the picture of Dylan going like this while you are like over
pretty
the air.
good.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's fantastic. And then we will also show probably the picture you sent me of your family in the locker room with you. But
one of the best pictures I took after the team had folded. We had like a going away party for just a couple of the people in the office. And I showed up in costume to the party for like
nice.
my last appearance.
Yeah.
And they wanted to take a picture. And I was like, I never get to do this. So I have a picture with all of them and I took the head off.
Oh.
So it's like the one time I took a picture without a mascot. So
that's
I'll
awesome.
send you that one too. Yeah. Nice.
that's great. All right. What about you, Ryan?
I always talk about the Comets winning the winning the cup during COVID, being my favorite memory. But I have a new one, and it was obviously signing my contract to join the Fort Wayne FC drum line. So thanks, Fort Wayne FC, for finally calling me back.
Yep. Yeah. No. I gotta say, mine was getting to live out a childhood dream of getting to be, and like not just the dream of being like eligible to win a championship ring or getting to be a part of that, but it was forming that family of like Colin, like you and I said, like it felt like one giant family, and it was so cool, and it was just like getting the friendship that all of us here have now, and that we were like a family, and it was just, I mean, heck, even my wife got to join in and be like part of they called her our handler. That's like, that was the one thing that like, I've seen a lot of mascots have a handler. You as a Mad Ant never really had a handler.
No, I was kind of rolling solo in the crowd, but I liked it that way. It was gave me the freedom to move fast, and it's good.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Colin, before we go, do you have any closing thing that you would like to say to anybody that would like to be a mascot at some point?
Go to their local minor league team or professional team and just ask. When we were doing when I was doing the Mad Ant, if somebody would come and say, "Hey, I'm interested in mascotting," we'd take them backstage. I'd show them around. I'd let them try stuff on. Like there are so few people that are interested in it, and it's such a cool thing that I would encourage anyone that even is interested, pursue it a little bit, because it's so rewarding. It's so much fun. And like, yeah, it's worth asking a couple questions to see if it's something you want to do.
It's awesome.
For sure.
All right. Well, with that, guys, it's been a great episode. Thank you again, Colin, for hopping on with us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. But with that, normally this is the first episode without Colin Scholl. He normally has a catchphrase at the end. But Ryan, you want to do the honors?
Absolutely. Cue the music.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya.